Okay, hello everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We definitely have everyone online right now, so that's fantastic. If I can, I'm just going to, if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm just looking at a different screen here as well. So I'm Stephen Green, RBC Royal Bank Mortgage Specialist, and we're going to be talking about first-time home buyers tonight and how to get a house in this crazy, crazy market. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of stuff. If I can get everybody to raise their hand, there should be a button on the very bottom. If you can raise your hand just so I know that you can hear me okay. So go ahead and click raise your hand. All right, we got one. I'm gonna wait for one more. That little button bottom middle. Most people have clicked it already. There's two. And all good. Okay, cool. So if you did raise your hand, I'm just gonna actually lower everyone's hand right now. And I'm going to get started. So if you can't hear me, there is a chat button at the very bottom. I believe you can chat with me or throw up a question and answer, and we can definitely go from there. So again, welcome everybody. First-time home buyers, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. What you need to know to be able to buy your first home. And hopefully this will help guide you through this crazy, crazy process that we have right now. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to cover, getting ready to buy your first home, because there's a lot of work involved with that as well. Credit scores in Canada. Okay, so it's important before you jump into buying your first home, you understand how credit scores work, because if you don't have a good credit score, I tell my clients that's half the battle. You're going to struggle to get a mortgage. How to save for a down payment, that has changed considerably. Pre-approvals versus the RBC firm approvals, again, very, very different. We'll talk about it. And I think the importance of having a team working for you. So it's great you have your real estate agent, your mortgage specialist, but what about the lawyer that's working with you, the home inspector, the accountant? There's a lot of different people in your what we call team, and we're going to talk a little bit about what your team should look like. Okay. Again, if you are, we have people joining kind of as we go along. So if you are having an issue hearing me, either this might be an obvious one, but turn up your volume or throw me a Q&A question and I'll just have a look and see if there's an issue in there. So, oops, I just went back a little bit too far there. Okay, so getting ready to buy your first home. So I think this becomes more of an issue, I think, depending on your age, where you are in your what we call your life stage, being employed, or how long have you been out of school, that sort of thing. So are you ready to even buy a home? Homes are expensive. They are work. If you're getting ready to buy your first home, you'll soon realize what it means when your parents said when you were younger, we got to stay and work on the house this weekend. Okay, so you very quickly learn that. So are you ready to actually even own a home? And that comes again with a lot of responsibility. Financial readiness. How much home could you get for what you pay currently for rent? So think about it around, if your rent is $1,500 a month, and I know rents are increasing, could you afford this new home if the mortgage was $1,800 plus your property taxes of $300 a month, hydro, heat, gas, long hot showers become quite expensive. So are you financially ready? There's two neat online tools that can help you out, okay? And obviously I know those are hyperlinks when we're on a webinar, but I'll definitely send those out so you can take a look at it and kind of play around with it. The RBC website has some incredible, neat little tools that you can play with. So make sure you visit rbcroyalbank.com. Okay, credit scores in Canada. So this is a really important topic, and As we're in a day and time where there's more and more access to credit and it's easy to get, you need to make sure that you're very aware of what your credit score is, or at least your credit bureau in general, before you even walk in for a mortgage. And not to say that that's going to stop you from applying for a mortgage, but you kind of want to know where things are before you visit with a mortgage person. Okay. So credit scores in Canada, a credit score is basically all of your credit details. So your ability to pay back your credit on time, how much credit have you used, how long have you been on the bureau, et cetera, et cetera. That's all wrapped into a score. And the score is shown between 300 and 900, okay? Generally speaking, anything over 680, you have access to better lending criteria, better rates, etc. So you want to be at least over 680. That's really, really important. Okay. If you have low credit, that shows creditors that maybe you're not credit worthy. In other words, you haven't proven through an acceptable track record that you can handle what we refer to as revolving credit or installment loans, stuff like that. So a low credit can truly affect your life. Like even if you're going for a cell phone, if you're going to rent an apartment, a low credit score could mean that you might need a cosigner or something along those lines. So what impacts your credit score? Okay, so these are all items. It's not enough. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not enough just to pay your credit card on time. There's all these other things that are involved. So what is your payment history? Are you always on time with your credit card payments? Delinquencies. Are you severely behind on some of your credit cards, loans, etc.? Keep in mind, everything reports to the credit bureau. Cell phones report. If you don't pay your dentist, I tell people, please pay your dentist bill. They love sending things to collections, okay? Cell phones, dentists, parking tickets, if you have what we call family responsibility office, so child support backdated. And then of course, loans, lines of credit, credit cards, most mortgages. So this is all going to be on there. So this is important because I think people lose sight of this. The next one, balance to limit ratio, otherwise known as percentage utilization. Okay, so let me give an example on this. I've had clients where they have made every single payment in the history of payments, no delinquencies, nothing like that. However, their overall percentage utilization of their available credit is high. So let's say, for example, you have one credit card for $1,000 limit and you owe $900 on that credit card. Right away, your percentage utilization is 90%. That's high. It's going to drop your score. Okay, so I've had clients who my goodness, I keep hitting that button by accident. I apologize. I have clients who have never missed a payment in their lives. However, because everything's at the limit or over the limit, which is even worse, their credit score takes a nosedive. So it's very, very important that you know, you want to make sure that you're just not fully utilized. I'll give another example. If you have one credit card at that $1,000 with $900 balance on it, your percentage utilization is going to be very, very high, dropping your credit score. You go the next day and get a credit card for $9,000 on a limit. All of a sudden, your percentage utilization, quick math, 10%. Work for a bank, doesn't mean I'm good at math, but is 10%. Now your score is going to go up because your percentage utilization is very, very low. So I found in my experience, percentage utilization is becoming more and more critical, especially in this day and age with so much access to credit. Okay. Recent inquiries. So Everyone shops for a mortgage. Everybody, gets a couple of credit cards. That's all cool. If I'm your 10th stop in the last 10 hours and you've got a number of recent credit inquiries very close together, you will be what we refer to as credit seeking, and your credit score will drop. Okay, that's just that identifies that you're just out there shopping for credit, and that's not a good thing to creditors. Length or history of accounts. So how long have you had credit for, right? So we sometimes run into this with new Canadians as an example, or younger people where, if you're 20, 21 and you just started getting credit at 18, 19, you don't have a long history. That's a minor one, but it definitely does come into play. Variety of credit accounts. So do you have what we call an installment loan and a revolving credit and a mortgage? Is there some sort of a variety of different types of loans that can show that you've paid things back on time? Too many accounts. Do you just have way too much credit? I've had this with clients, and I think if you're not using any of the credit, it's really not too much of a big deal. But if you have like over the top, like 10 credit cards, 8 lines of credit, I've seen it, folks. It happens often because it's so easy to get. That could be a concern, and I think for the most part, without getting too specific, we no longer calculate a payment on the limit of your credit card. We do calculate it based on what you owe. So it could be a concern if you have too much credit. If you max it all out, can you really continue to support yourself? So what I would always recommend, and whether you're going for a mortgage or not, stay on top of your credit score. Now I've got on here, you can go to Equifax.ca, TransUnion.ca. Those are the 2 major credit reporting agencies in Canada. And like for $20, you can get your credit score. However, each bank uses either Equifax or TransUnion. Okay, so we use TransUnion, Scotia uses TransUnion, BMO uses TransUnion, TD and CIBC use Equifax. So what you could do if you were smart about this, have an account with RBC. Okay, you can actually pull your credit bureau for free, not as an inquiry, so you don't get dinged for those inquiries we were talking about, for free every month. Complete credit history, score, the whole bit. It's awesome. And our site, I'm not bragging, but our site's actually kind of cool. So, and then if you want someone from Equifax, you can try CIBC, and you can get your credit score for free. They don't give a report like RBC does because, they're not really cool like we are. But I'm just joking in case anyone works for CIBC, but they'll give just your credit score every 3 months. Okay. Okay, numbers. So 680 is really the magic number. Once you're 680 and higher, a lot of doors will open up for you. Okay, we can get away with a little bit more affordability, especially if you have less than 20% down. Okay, anything below 680, lenders start to ask questions. Why is your score a little bit lower? Why did your score drop? What is holding back the score from being over 680? So this is truly the magic number that you want to be at minimum 680. If you're over 700, 750, you're pretty golden. Over 750, you're pretty much good to go for anything you're looking for, of course, as long as it's affordable. And what makes up your credit history? So we talked about that. Amounts owed. Okay, so that's going to be your percentage utilization, payment history, big part, new credit inquiries, stuff like that. So that's a basic pie graph to show what makes up your score. But like I said, 680 is the golden number. Now, and one other thing, if you are below 680 for, quote, a valid reason, then always let us know what it is. I think for the most part, I always tell this to clients, when you walk in to see me, I can control a lot of things. Your credit score when you walk in is not one of them. So even if you have a bit of a lower score, talk to us, talk to me. I can definitely go through what can help you increase your score and what you can do to, get on that path for home ownership. Even if it takes an extra year or two, at least get on the path now, so you can start to plan accordingly. So how much do you need? It depends on how much you buy for. It's becoming tougher and tougher, but we have two different types of mortgages. So one is a conventional mortgage. Okay. So that means you have 20% down or more of the purchase price. And the other one is what we refer to, it says low down payment. We can call it a high ratio, default insured. So in other words, you don't have a big down payment. Okay. And what the bank does is it says, okay, you don't have a conventional down payment of 20% down, which is a very safe down payment. Okay, so because of that, we're still going to give you a mortgage. Okay, but because you have less than 20% down, you have to get insurance. Okay, this insurance, other than getting the mortgage, has no benefit to you as the client. It is all the benefit of the bank. Okay. So again, the bank says you have a small down payment, no problem. However, we want you to get insurance that in the event you default, you stop paying your bills, whatever the case may be, we have insurance to get our money back from you. Okay. So there is a premium as an example. If you buy a house for 300,000, if those are still out there, 300,000, and you put 5% down, which is 15,000, you would think your mortgage is 285. But then we tack on a 4% insurance rate, which we just add right back onto the mortgage. So really your mortgage ends up being 296,000. Okay, so the insurance, think of it as like car insurance. Okay, we take the insurance premium and we put it right onto the mortgage for you. So you don't have to come up with that out of your own pocket. And I will say, I know it sounds like a lot of money, but with the way house prices are going, it's worth the investment, because hopefully if your real estate agent does a great job for you, your overall value or the appreciation on the house should increase, which should offset that insurance premium. But really good idea, get into the market, because it ain't getting any cheaper. So, okay, building a down payment. And so I want to come back to what I said earlier. Really, really important, get in to see me early so we can plan, because you might be doing something you think is helping and it's not. Okay, so really important, get in to see me early. So building for a down payment, you can basically have your own dedicated savings plan, $1,000 a month or whatever the case may be. But that's basically your very generic savings plan. You can put money into your tax-free savings account. Okay. Yes, you will have a tax receipt for the end of the year for any interest you have earned, and it's tax-free. But then you can take it out of your money, out of the tax-free savings account at any time. You can use your RSP. So a really cool way to do it. Keep in mind, an RSP is for retirement savings plan. Okay. But there is an exemption in Canada whereby if you put money towards your RSP, normally, if you withdraw from your RSP early, i.e. when you're not retired, you have to pay what we call a withholding tax. Okay. Put money in your RSP, you get a tax deduction. Take money out of your RSP early, you got to pay the tax deduction back. Okay. So as an example, let's say you make $50,000 a year and you do an RSP contribution for $5,000, as long as it's allowed within your limit. You will get a tax receipt saying that you contributed $5,000. That will reduce your taxable income by $5,000, bringing you down to $45,000, which means you should get an income tax return, because your whole year you paid income tax on $50,000, but with the RSP contribution, now you only have to pay income tax on $45,000. So put the money away, you get a tax refund. Fantastic. Take the money out of your RSP, you got to pay that money back, basically, withholding tax, unless you are buying your first home. So this is where first-time homebuyers like to do it. Put the money in the RSP, get the cool tax return. When it's time to buy the first house, they can take it out of their RSP tax-free. However, you do have to pay back that money over the next 15 years. Okay, so this is very, very important. Great strategy. Has to be in your RSP for 90 days. So you can't drop it in your RSP one day, take it out the next. If you're looking at that strategy, let me know, and we can definitely talk about how to make that work. Gifts from family members. So if you have the bank of mom and dad, and they would like to gift you down payment, as long as it's from an immediate family member, you can definitely get a gifted down payment from a family member. The key word here is gift. That means it's not a loan. It's not a promissory note. And no, they cannot put a lien on your house. It is a gift. Here's money. We do not want it back. We have a special letter they would sign indicating that it is a gift and they don't want it back. So there's different ways to build a down payment. The other thing you can also do, if you live in the Waterloo region, so Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, there is a program in which they will, is it a grant? I can't remember if it's a grant, but they will give you the down payment for your first home, 5% down. Okay, you must have your own closing costs, which we'll talk about later. They'll give that to you. And as long as you don't sell, move, or refinance in 20 years, you keep the money. If you sell, refinance, or whatever you want to do within 20 years, you just got to pay the money back. So really cool program at last. So it's February now. Last I heard, it's about a 7-month wait. Okay, so not horrible. I've seen it at 2 years before, but there is an option that way as well to get your down payment that way. And only if you're in the Waterloo region. I think some other municipalities may have the same program, but me being from Waterloo, I just know that we happen to have that program. Okay, next one. So one sec, I've just got an issue with my screen here. Okay, so buying your first home. So first thing to do, okay, get pre-approved. If you are working with a real estate agent, most agents that know what they're doing, understand the process, they won't even let you get in their car to drive them around to look at homes unless you have a pre-approval, because they want to know that if they're taking you around to homes that are 500, 600,000, you can actually afford that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you see a mortgage person, hopefully me, who will pull your credit bureau, check your pay information, make sure it's actually affordable, make sure you have a job, make sure you have a down payment. You'd be surprised. Okay, so it just shows that you are serious. You've done the work. You're ready to go. Okay, again, you know how much you can actually borrow, so you're not looking at $1 million homes and you can afford a $200,000 condo. Rates are locked for 120 days. Okay, so from the time you start to the time you close, rates are locked up. What does the bank take into consideration? So your income, yes, you must have a job. Please, you have to have income, okay? Net worth, okay? So are you heavily in debt? Available funds, and we already spoke about credit rating. These are all things that we take into consideration. And you know, you don't have to be rich to own a home. So if your net worth, you know, if you're just starting out, you know, you're a young couple, no kids yet, you're starting out, you know, you're getting a gifted down payment, you know, you're young or not young or whatever the case may be, and you have a low net worth, that's okay. That makes sense. That's what we refer to as life stage. Okay. These are all different things that we look at, but you know, you don't have to be, you know, 20% down on a down payment. Get in the market with 5. These are things to take into consideration, but you know, not everything is going to be really, really rock solid, and we get that. Credit should be, though, just saying. Documents to bring to your first meeting with your mortgage specialist. So there's a bunch of things, pay slip, T4s from your respective employer. That's really important. Savings, okay, anything around your savings account. Where is the deposit? Where's the down payment coming from? These sort of things are very important to bring along. Okay, so knowing how much you can afford. So here's one comment I will make. Rates are super, super low right now. As an owner of a home, and I've had investment properties before, okay, houses are expensive. They're not cheap. So you really want to budget a little bit just to make sure. Again, we come back to that kind of emotional readiness. Are you ready to take on some of these things? Okay. So, your mortgage payment, so your income is your household income, but your expensive mortgage payment, property taxes. You have to have insurance. The bank will not grant you a mortgage unless you have insurance. Insurance, depending on the house, what you have, 50 to $100-ish in that range. Utilities, talk about things that are not getting cheaper anytime soon. So hydro, gas, water. Maybe you need to rent a water softener, especially in the Waterloo region. The water is so hard. What's another thing that comes up? Sewage. There's all sorts of different bills for things. Phone, cable, internet. My goodness, my Rogers bill is insane because everybody wants. I'm married with 2 kids. Everybody wants, the best cable package and the fastest internet, and it's nuts. Your phone could be one of your biggest expenses. Car payments, I think I mentioned. So those, even though there's 0% interest, those go towards your servicing. That's an important thing. Got to pay your car. Loans, lines of credit, debts. If you're young, student debt. I know it's there. You got to pay it. And then once you're done paying everybody you owe money to, then you have to buy food. So living, personal expenses, groceries, entertainment. There was a funny commercial from Scotiabank from years ago where there's a young couple and they're sitting in this beautiful home. They're all excited and it's empty. There's no furniture, no nothing because they can't afford it, right? So these are just things that I strongly recommend. Do a budget, make sure, know what your contingencies are, and just make sure that you're ready to jump into it. Okay, this is really, really important. So, and this is where I'm going to probably throw in some RBC shameless plugs on this. So it's very, very important that you understand that when you come in to see the mortgage person at the very beginning, when they pull your credit, check your documents, you have not found a house yet. We refer to that as a pre-approval, okay? A pre-approval is more than just the rate. The rate's expensive. Listen, don't pay 4% higher for me than you would someone else. And generally speaking, the rates are all pretty much the same, okay? So then you gotta start to look at other things. A pre-approval, folks, is as good as the paper it's written on, okay? It just simply means I've checked your credit, checked your pay stubs or whatever it is I got to check. You have a down payment and you can afford X number of dollars. That's all it means. It is not an authorization from the bank to just go firm and buy whatever you want without any conditions, okay? It just says you can afford X number of dollars. Having said that, once you find your home with your realtor, okay, they will put in an offer to purchase. And they'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we would like to offer you $300,000 to purchase your home. We have 5 business days from the date of acceptance to make sure our financing is finally firm and to do a home inspection and other stuff like that. So that offer, once it goes in, that's at the point the bank will do most of the work to then firm up on the approval. So what that means is you then send the offer to me. I send it in for the final approval. We check the property. We do everything up. If you're less than 20% down, we send it to the insurance company to get their approval. And more importantly, we confirm the house is worth what it's worth. So before you, and we are the only bank that does this, before you waive that condition, which is basically the promise to buy the house, if you can confirm your financing in from 5 business days from when you put in the offer, we do everything. How much is the house worth? RBC approval, and then of course CMHC approval if we need to, and we give you a firm approval. That means unless you change the house you're buying, obviously, or unless you want more money, you are getting that mortgage. You're moving in your house. You can waive conditions. It is all yours. No more credit bureaus. No more, hey man, I need one more pay stub a week before closing. Nothing. Your house in, that's it. We're the only bank that does this. And so this is where RBC works with a lot of real estate agents and repeat customers, because this truly protects you, the client, and you will get your home if we're able to complete that firm approval. Okay, so big difference. A pre-approval, great to have to have it, but it's as good as the paper it's written on. So remember that. Part and parcel of that is the value versus the purchase price. So we're getting into a lot of this right now, where you probably heard of the term bidding wars, some crazy Toronto stuff a couple of years ago. Just always remember, the bank will only give you a mortgage to either the purchase price or the appraised value, whichever is less. Let me give an example. If you put in an offer on a home for $450,000, we do the appraisal, and the house is only worth $400,000 because you got into a bidding war because there were 32 people lined up around the corner to buy this amazing home that is one of a kind and everyone has to have it. If it's only worth 400, and let's just say as an example, you plan to put 5% down, okay? We'll give you a mortgage to 400, so 20%, so $20,000, which is 5%. But that difference between 400,000 and 450, you need to come up with that on your own, on top of your down payment. So you buy a house for 450, it's only worth 400. Your total down payment, if you thought you were 5% down, is $70,000. The extra 50 is just to make up the difference. If I can put a little bow on this, this is why we say you have to put a condition of financing in on your offer, because if you go firm and the house isn't worth what it's worth, you hopefully have a plan B to get your house. Okay. That is all very high level how I've explained it. If you want more information on this, please reach out to me. I explain it 10 times a day. I can explain it again just to make sure you're familiar with it. Okay. Offers, deposits, I'm not going to get too much into it. The process once an offer has been placed, I've already spoken about. Okay, so, and I'm going to sneeze in just a second. It's very dusty in my office and I don't know why all of a sudden. Yeah, so the process I've spoken about, you find your house, you put the offer in, you want to pay 500,000 or whatever the case may be. And then, like I said, I've already gone through that process, so I'm not going to go through it again. It's not as exciting when I explain it the second time, so. Okay, this is really, really, really important, okay? Before you go and jump to do the home, okay, it really should be talking to either the bank or the realtor first, okay? I'm the bank, I'm a little selfish, I want you to talk to me first, okay? But having said that, I know many of you will probably reach out to your real estate agent first, totally fine. Of course, I'm also available too. Whoever you talk to first, build your team. Let's say you talk to me first. I'm going to say, okay, I want you to work with this real estate agent. I want you to work with this home inspector. I want you to work with this lawyer. Here's a great electrician, whatever the case may be. The reason why that's important, and you know, we live in a community where it's big, but it's not. So you want to know you're working with people that are good. I know that sounds crazy, but I've been doing this for so long. I've been in banking 22, 23 years, doing mortgages full time for 9. I know who's good and who's not. Okay. So if I meet with you and I say, hey, you know what? I really want you to meet with, you know, this real estate agent because I think you're a great match. Run with it. Here's an awesome lawyer. You know, I have a lawyer that I work with. I work with him personally. I know he does good work. Work with them. You know, home inspector, you're free to work with whoever you want, but have your team built. And I'm not saying you have to work with my realtor, you have to work with my home inspector, you have to work with my lawyer, but these are people on my team. So here, work with my team because I know them. The other part of it is you want people on your team communicating with each other. I know we've got a couple of realtors on the webinar tonight. You know, they'll attest to the fact they're on my team. They're texting me at weird hours of the night. I have been in bed watching TV with my wife and I'm texting a real estate agent. So, you know, you want your team to be working well together and know what to do. We can work better for you when you're working with people on our team that we know, and we know most importantly, will do good work for you. Okay, so that's really important. That's why we always say have a home buying team, not necessarily ready to go, but build the team through referral. Again, I have people that I work with that I know do amazing work. So, and for any of the realtors that are on right now, I'm not condoning texting me at 11 o'clock at night. Just saying. Okay, so getting ready to buy. So what we've covered tonight: getting ready to buy your first home, credit scores, saving for a down payment, pre-approvals versus firm, importance of having a team. These are all things that are really, really critical. Okay. Next steps. Okay, so more shameless plug just because I've got the microphone and the webcam, and you know what? I can do this. So if you've got more questions, you need a plan, you want to talk more, phone me, text me, email me, Facebook me. Is that a term? Twitter me, tweet me. The other stuff is I have a YouTube channel. Okay. I post a lot of my stuff right on social media, so I don't have a lot of subscribers. So don't let that fool you. Okay. But I have a great YouTube channel with old webinars, info sessions I've done, cool videos. I do have my Steven in 60 Seconds series, which is, I think, is amazing. And I also have a podcast, the Green Effect podcast. It's on all your favorite podcatchers. I've had former Olympians, I've had lawyers, real estate agents. I actually, this month I have Mandy Bujold is coming on. She's a Kitchener girl, competing in Tokyo. I've got an amazing YouTuber coming on. There's some real, I don't just talk about mortgages. If I talk about mortgages all day, I don't know what I would do. So lots of really neat topics, but we definitely do talk about some home equity type things. So definitely reach out, follow me, like me, love me, whatever. Okay, so I do have, I'm gonna just give a moment for questions. So if you go to and I'm looking over at my other screen here, if you go to the bottom, okay, there is a Q&A button. It's the third button on the right. I'm just gonna give a moment. If anyone has a question, I can definitely have a look at it and I'd be more than glad to answer it. So I'm just gonna give it less than a minute or so. And if people start disappearing, all good, no worries. I'll assume there's no questions, but if any questions pop up, I'm just going to take a quick look and answer them if I'm able to. So I'll just give like less than a minute here, see if anyone wants to ask anything. Okay, and so I do see, Jesse, you have a question, and I can see that right here. If you want to go ahead and type in your question, I can answer it for you. This is actually a really good question. So the question is, my boyfriend of 2 years is looking to buy a house. Are we required to get a mortgage together? So I'm going to try to answer this how I believe the context is, but I want you to go ahead and type as I answer the question, in case I'm off base a little bit. Okay. Um, so no, if your boyfriend, and I'm assuming you mean just he is going to buy the home, he's going to be on the mortgage, you will not be. Yes, I see a yes, thank you. No, so the answer is no, you don't have to. In fact, we have married couples who just the husband or just the wife goes on for very different reasons. Some could be, I'll give an example, if one of the individuals is on the mortgage and they have the income and low debt, but the other individual has little to no income for whatever reason, but they have debt that's pulling down the application, we can actually just leave them off. Or if one person, this is a really good example, if one person has great income, good credit, the other person has income and bad credit, even though their income helps the app, sometimes the creditor will say their credit's so bad we don't want them on. So I'm not suggesting that's your situation, but to answer your question, no, if you can live in the house and not be part of the mortgage financing. So great question. Thank you. You're welcome. Any other questions? I'll give it another 10, 15 seconds, see if anything pops up. Okay, I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for everyone who attended. That was awesome having everybody on. If you did attend, you exclusively get access to the webinar for another week. I should be able to email it out in the next day or so. Like I said, I have some podcasts coming up this week. And then it won't be released to the public until after. It is on Facebook Live right now. I'm totally aware of that. But to have access to be able to just watch it at your own leisure instead of having to do it on Facebook, it's kind of cool. So anyway, I will definitely get that out for you. And like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, Stephen Green, RBC Royal Bank. Thanks, everybody. Oh, I was told to do a wave, by the way. People told me to wave.